on the issue. Okay, let me just do this. Got it. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to read something. This is regarding the open meetings law, video conferencing, pursuant to amendments to the New York State Part WW of Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022, Bronx Community Board number 8 must hold a public hearing on the subject, and B, following the public hearing, adopt a resolution that authorizes in order to follow a hybrid meeting model. A resolution adopted by a public body must specify whether the authorization contained in it applies not only to the body, but also to its committees. I'll just say a few words. We're offering a resolution tonight that will give Community Board 8 the option of flexibility when it comes to holding our Zoom meetings. We're attempting to satisfy the public need for participation with our ability to feasibly offer the option of Zoom. I think we could put it up on the screen here, the resolution.
Sure. Give me one moment. Let me zoom out a tiny bit.
Okay, there's still some stuff up on the screen up on top.
Like what?
A whole bunch of layout.
Menu items.
Menu items. So it might not be clear.
It's clear, I can see it.
Yeah, I don't even know how to get rid of it.
Karen, it can be made larger if we get rid of the ribbon on the top. There we go.
Gone. Very good.
Yeah, I understood. I was just trying to figure it out. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. What's key for us is that after June 9th, our board meetings will be in person. Only a small number of board members will be able to Zoom in to meetings if they have extenuating circumstances, which will be covered in the resolution. And this is something that has been very rushed. The law has been very confusing. We've sought all the guidance that we could to make this as clear and to give us the options by the deadlines that are required. In effect, this is an unfunded mandate in that boards are endeavoring to be high-tech without any funding, help, IT offered from our borough president or any elected official at this time. So it's almost like there are so many conditions that we will be discussing tonight, and I hope there are questions, that it seems as if the state of New York really doesn't want us to try this hybrid model, because if you choose not to, you could do nothing. All right, so I'm going to go through the resolution and then we'll call on speakers. Please speak for 2 minutes and also give us your name for the record. Okay, I'll begin slowly. Can the public can see this as well, right? Here's our resolution, our proposed draft. Whereas the New York State Legislature has passed and Governor Hochul has signed new legislation concerning implementation of the open meetings law, which will remain in effect through June 1, 2024. Whereas Part WW of Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022 mandates that as of June 9th, 2022, all community board members must return to attending meetings in person unless the board chooses the hybrid model option, which allows an exemption with timely notice for board members with extenuating circumstances, such as illness, disability, caretaking responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor which precludes the members' physical presence at such meetings, and they can participate in video conferencing, Zoom. Whereas, under the hybrid model, board members who are exempt from attending meetings in person may vote off-site via video conferencing, but will not be counted towards the quorum. And whereas a board member appearing virtually must at all times be able to be heard, seen, and identified. And whereas in the event that a board member attends virtually, the name and specific reason for virtual attendance will be noted in the monthly minutes. And whereas public engagement has increased significantly over the past 2 years, and the hybrid option allows for full participation at meetings on the part of the public via video conferencing. And whereas Bronx Community Board 8 held a duly advertised public hearing on May 10th, 2022 as required, and whereas the hybrid model, which allows for remote public participation, presents many technical challenges, absent professional information technology support, as well as evening staff support. And whereas Community Board 8 committees may or may not choose to implement the hybrid model at their discretion, so long as the public notice specifically advises the community when the hybrid model will be utilized. Therefore, be it resolved, move it up a little bit, Kira. Thanks. Therefore, be it resolved that Bronx Community Board 8 and its committees, at their discretion, adopt the hybrid model to provide the public, including those with disabilities, the ability to attend and participate remotely, with the condition that the board will review its efficacy after 6 months, when at such time a vote on its renewal will take place. Therefore, be it resolved that Bronx Community Board 8 will endeavor to implement the hybrid model after research, investment in appropriate technology, and training of board members in its use have been completed. Therefore, be it further resolved that public meetings of the board or its committees that utilize video conferencing will be appropriately publicly noticed and include physical locations and remote links with directions on how to participate pursuant to the new open meetings law. It's a mouthful. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions. We tried to make it as basic as possible. And now I'll turn, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Let's see. Use the raise hand. Right now, Bob and David and Bob Bender, anyone from the public goes first. Karen Argenti. Why don't you, we know who you are, so we have that for the record. Karen Argenti. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, Chairperson Spalter and all the rest of the board members and members of the public. I've been a member of a community board for many, many years. I've been a member of Community Board 8 as a community member, Environment and Sanitation Committee for also many years. And I think this is a very challenging process that you are going to have to do. But I want to remind you that when I was sworn in as a community board member, they were like, oh, you know, you're only going to have like 2 hours a week. You think you can commit to 2 hours a week? And yeah, we committed to 2 hours a week, and somehow it turned out to be many more than 2 hours a week. So to ask community board people, chair people of the community board committees to be like going around and lugging equipment to get to a meeting is kind of like not a good option. I would recommend that it's kind of like there's 12 community boards in the Bronx, and those 12 community boards are all gonna have meetings at different times, but always in the evening. On those meetings, it should be a shared service. Maybe the borough president's office could actually do it, and to make it easier on you. When you made your commitment to be a community board member, you didn't know that you're gonna have to be the IT expert, and you'd have to like learn a lot to get to the point of managing whatever this is going to look like as it is. Other than that, I think it's honorable that you have decided to enter into this enterprise, and it sounds like it's going to be very difficult to accomplish, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. So that's all I'd have to say. I don't have any questions. I'm not a community board member. I just want to congratulate you for doing this and leaving your options open.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that have their hands up? Let me see. So far, I don't see any. Ali M. Oh, no, but I don't see a hand up. If someone from the public wishes to speak, please let us know. And Karen, thank you so much. Okay, I don't see anyone from the public. Maybe more will come on. I guess it's okay then for me to go with our members. David, your hand was up first.
Well, in fairness, Bob Kaplan had put his hand.
I'm
up
sorry.
first.
Okay, Bob, I'm sorry.
Bob?
So thank you very much, and I deeply appreciate the difficulties involved with the hybrid model. We have, in all of our initiatives and the work that I do professionally, have utilized the hybrid model for the past several months, and while it does have extreme challenges as far as equipment and as far as IT. I hate to say it, but once you get the hang of it, you get the hang of it. My concern is around two issues. One is the issue of what are extenuating circumstances. I think that needs to be explored more deeply. I understand that it's vague on the part of the state. However, I think that the board may have to have some more questions, and the executive board needs to have more questions and more answers around what are extenuating circumstances. That would include the issue of vulnerability, because when we're talking about age or physical health or other kinds of vulnerable issues that make you more susceptible to COVID, obviously this is because of COVID, and then the notion that COVID goes through cycles. We're seeing the 5th uptake for this year. We will certainly see other uptakes in the future. I think all those factors need to be brought into focus and understood, that some folks may be able to attend some meetings because numbers are low and they're not as vulnerable. When numbers start to go up, they may be more vulnerable. So I think that the definition of extenuating circumstances needs to be broadened. That's one point. The second point is, and I have to fully admit, I came onto the board during the era of COVID. It's the late, and I think it was referred to before by the previous speaker, is length of meetings. I know that I've become more comfortable with longer meetings and more in-depth stuff that's happened online, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to be there. It's a lot easier to stay there. It's a lot easier to engage in. I would hope that, and I don't know what board meetings were like prior to. I've been to many community board meetings around the city over the years. I would hope that the length of the meeting, the agendas are managed in a way that it will not become onerous for people to be in person, because we've gotten used to the Zoom aspect, which allows us to be a little bit more flexible in length of meetings. Those are just my two comments. Thank you.
Oh, no, Excellent comments. And I have to say, there's a lot of issues that we will have to discuss a procedures guide for how we want to run it. When we have meetings, for example, Lisa brought up today, when we have meetings in our conference room, can we require masks of the public, of ourselves? Talk more about who's the attendance police, the process for that. So there is a lot that you've raised, and yes, we're going to have discussions on that at a later date.
Any way I can be helpful in that, because we have gone through a considerable amount of thinking and worked with experts in the field, particularly security field, around these issues. Please feel free to call upon me.
Thank you. David, are you next? David?
Yes, I believe so. Thank you. 2 years ago, we were confronted with a radical problem of what the heck to do about conducting our meetings. And we did a modest amount of research and took a big gamble on Zoom. And it turned out to be an extraordinarily successful endeavor. Our attendance at meetings, particularly by members of the community, has been extraordinary. I can't think of meetings that we had in person that were 212, 249. Zoom has been a huge success for us in conducting the part of the meeting mechanism, allowing people to phone it in, as it were. And we've discovered that the situation really has two elements of the technology. One is the broadcast via Zoom. That has worked extremely well, and that would not change under a hybrid model. We still would be, the chair of the committee would still be effectively dialing in via Wi-Fi from the office into Zoom, and the members of the community would still be able to participate via Zoom. I think that we could pretty easily use the conference room at our existing office and someday at our new office. Maybe we take out the big table there and put the chair of the committee at a small table in front of the big TV so that everybody can see all the participants by Zoom. The only question would be what would be in front of the chair of the committee, probably a laptop, possibly a regular PC and a monitor. It's not clear how we would be able to show the other participants in the room on camera. We might have to turn the camera around. That's a minor detail. The main thing will stay the same: access to Zoom from the chair's seat and access to Zoom from the community seat, and similarly for board members. So I would strongly urge that our community board vote for this resolution, and that we take on the hybrid meeting model, and advise our community that, yeah, we expect there are gonna be some hiccups, just like we said 2 years ago. Yeah, we're not certain that everything's gonna work perfectly, but there may be some hiccups. You're welcome to come to the office and participate in person, but but you may not get a seat, and you're still welcome to join via Zoom. So that really won't change. And by giving that forewarning, there's an old saying, forewarning is fair warning. Giving the forewarning that, yeah, there might be some hiccups if you dial in, I think that's a reasonable approach, particularly since really we're just talking about the month of June. There'll be about 10 committee meetings and one board meeting in the month of June. And if it turns out to be horrible, we can always reverse ourselves at the June 29th meeting. But we have the test case of June, and then we have July test cases of June, and then July and August to review what we've done. And if necessary, and we don't like it, We can reverse ourselves in September. But I strongly urge that our board keep our community very well involved by enabling them to participate in a hybrid meeting model. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Bob Bender.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I have comments, but in fairness, I know there are other speakers. I just want to ask two questions to clarify a couple of points. Number one, if we choose the hybrid model, does that mean that individual committees and individual committee chairs can choose to be hybrid or in person? In other words, if the
Yes,
board as
no,
a
no,
whole
the answer-
chooses hybrid, is it up to the individual committee chair to decide how his or her committee will meet?
Yes, chairs have that flexibility to agree to be hybrid or not, depending on many factors as they develop. And they even have the option of, say they choose, I don't want hybrid, we're going to be all like pre-COVID, all in the pool.
Mhm.
If they're having a meeting, a specific meeting, and it's a very, very big topic, they may choose for that meeting to do the hybrid model. That's how flexible it is.
Right,
As long as we advertise and we have the Zoom and we, let everybody know, they have that option as well. So this is flexible, and this was determined yesterday at the Borough President's
Right.
office, because there was a lot of confusion. And that's why I adjusted the resolution to try to reflect that flexibility. And you had a second question, Bob?
I do, yeah, and exactly. I knew you were meeting with the Borough President's office yesterday, and I noticed changes in the resolution from yesterday, and that leads to my second question. Is there, for lack of a better term, a grace period for when we actually begin, if we choose a hybrid model? Clearly, we are not set up right now to begin the hybrid model. If we choose the hybrid model, do we have a period of time when we can acquire the equipment and the chairs can be trained and so on before we actually begin to utilize the hybrid model?
There is no period of time. This was discussed yesterday quite a bit. We will not be meeting using hybrid in June because we don't have all the equipment, the hotspots. I just don't see that happening in June. And there is no rush. The only rush was to do a resolution before June 9th, which we're doing.
Mhm.
And then the resolution states that we have to be trained. We have to have done our research. For example, we'll be meeting with Zoom because see what services in terms of the disabilities, in terms of transcription, in terms of, we've been told yesterday that the who we deal with, there's micros, teams, there's this, is that we will be getting assistance there. But I do not anticipate starting this really until September, hopefully.
Okay, well, that was my question. So
Yeah.
if we vote in favor of the resolution, in favor of the hybrid model, it may not take effect until September.
Right, we'll see how our research, we're rewiring the office, the conference room. We'll
Mhm.
see how it goes, but that's clear in the resolution that we have,
Mhm. Right.
we have time. And then from the time we start operating, then we'll review it in 6 months, see how it's working.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Before I continue, is there anyone from the public that hasn't spoken that wishes to speak? Okay, I don't see. So Ed Green, you're next.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so I initially was opposed to this idea, but I think it's a terrific resolution. And given that the committees have the option of choosing to implement or not implement this hybrid model was kind of what leaned me towards supporting this. And the main reason, David Gelman said it best, Zoom has increased the community input, and that's a big deal. It's very important. So I like that part of it. I think that's key. My initial reaction to this was, okay, who specifically is going to be responsible for the technical aspects of this. And, you know, it seems to all fall on the shoulders of the committee chairs. Now, Sylvia also raised a good point in exec, you know, like herself, you know, I don't have a car. As Karen Argenti mentioned, this is more than we signed up for initially. It's not the 2 hours, our roles keep expanding, and that's all right if you have the time to do this. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I work a full-time job as a train operator. I'm an authorized union rep, which is almost like a second job. And then I have this chairmanship. So my time, it's really more about what does my life look like, and am I able to extend myself further to do these types of things? Now, a lot of these things are still unknown, but at least I know at this point, if I can get a better look at what this looks like, and it seems to be too much for me to take on, then I guess our committee has the option to not implement it. And you mentioned that the chairs have the discretion also. I just want to go on the record by stating that even though if I would have that power, so to speak, as a chair, I would still leave it up to my committee to vote on whether they wanted to go hybrid model or not. And if I was unable to, if I was unable to fulfill my obligations, I would resign as chair and let somebody else take over chair if that's the way the committee wanted to do it. But I also think it's pretty difficult to facilitate these types of meetings just based on my prior experience with hybrid meetings with my union. But there's a lot of unknowns about this, and I am supportive of this this hybrid model and this resolution for the reasons I stated. But there's some trepidation about it because I don't know, you know, if it works for me, and I will be, I don't want to do this if I can't do a good job and properly fulfill my obligations to this board. And at this point, it seems like a bit of a stretch for me. So I guess, you know, if the committees have the option to do it, each chair for the committee is going to have to evaluate what that looks like for them and how you know, how feasible it is for them. For me, it's a tough thing right now, the way my life looks right now. So that's, I support it, but I support it with a lot of skepticism, and we're gonna have to wait and see what comes down the pipe. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're gonna stay on this chair. Everything will get worked out. That's why we made this flexible. Camelia, you're next.
Thank you so much, Laura. Just wanted to, first of all, to say I think this intent is absolutely admirable on behalf of CBH. So thank you for pushing this forward. I do want to back up a little bit the technical comments that both David and Ed had, and particularly kind of Ed's skepticism in the long run. I'm focusing on the issue of quorum. So clearly quorum has to be established in person. So I'm feeling a little bit concerned for those vulnerable members of CBA that will have to show up in person to allow quorum. I also, however, want to show or to kind of share the perspective of kind of where this came from, because Zoom was not, I mean, Zoom was amazing as far as participation, but it was not, you know, there were issues with it too, notably from the part of the city saying that actually some people that show up on Zoom are in fact not present and not participating. And I must confess, I was myself in a situation where I was on a Zoom meeting on CB8, but in fact I was with another participant of CB8 from the borough president's office in an occasion that was clearly not, you know, like an official event that we were not participating. We were there to be counted, but we were not participating. And we also had a recent occasion of a committee where quorum was made by 4 people out of a committee of 7. The chair only counted the 4 people. It turns out one is actually was no longer a member. So it turns out it counted only 3 people. The other 3 people's names were not spoken at all. And now 2 weeks after the meeting, we are chasing that person to say, hey, can you please confirm if you were or were not in the meeting, because we need you for quorum, even though your name wasn't spoken, you didn't confirm presence in any way. So all these things, all this to say, this is why even when attending from home on Zoom, now the legislator asks for camera to be on for the community board members and for your name to be there and for you to show actual participations. And there are other anecdotes also from other city agencies, but now I'm telling you, in meetings with city agencies I'm required to be like full on camera. Having said all that, I do encourage all chairs, current and future, to take this risk. It is a risk that is worth for our community. The technical difficulties, unfortunately, will be on them, meaning it's the public that will have less perfect access to the proceedings, and all of us will be in person as much as possible. But just want to say, I will also support, despite my reluctance, I will strongly support and applaud you for this resolution.
Thank you, Camelia. Rosemary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two questions and one statement. And it's really clarifications. To follow up on Bob Bender's question, I want to make sure I understand the answer. The last whereas clause says that committees may or may not choose the hybrid method. If they choose not to use the hybrid method, am I correct in saying the only choice left to them is to go pre-COVID?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The next is also clarification. Bob was asking, when does this start? So it would appear that we're not going to do something until September. If we have a meeting between June 9th and September, how do we have to run that meeting?
We have to, everybody show up in person.
Oh, pre-COVID then, a
Pre-COVID,
pre-COVID.
it's pre-COVID.
Thank you.
By
Thank
some
you.
miracle, things may jive and we may say, let's experiment on June 29th, which is a good time for me to remind everybody, mark your calendars, it's June 29th for our full board meeting. If by miracle, but we just didn't want to put ourselves under that pressure. So
Yeah, I just wasn't clear. So thank you for that clarification. And then just one statement. I think you said Lisa Dowd raised the issue of masks. I was thinking of that this morning. Of all this conversation, we haven't had that conversation about COVID protocols that we may want, we may want to demand, we may want to suggest, whatever it may be. Of course, it's necessary to do that before the first meeting where we're meeting in person. But I do want to go just a step further. I think the COVID protocols, all members of the board should be able to comment on them, and not just a couple of people decide this. It really does affect everybody. We've lived with this for over 2 years, and I think everybody on the board is going to have a sense, maybe different sense, but a sense about what's appropriate. So I would just encourage wide participation in that conversation.
which is another reason why we don't want to rush, because that takes time for us to make up our own guidelines. Now, I referred the question of masks to Tom Lucania, our contact at the BP today, and he responded that we can make up our own protocol. It's what we want, what we vote. We already knew from the past that if we were using a venue and they required, whatever they required, masks, we would have to, follow that protocol. And we have the right to do that as well. So there's going to be discussion about the attendance, the extraordinary circumstances, how that process is going to work. Supposedly, we're supposed to have 24 hours in advance. We're going to have to talk about, our behavior, our masking, in our own office. So those things will take time and we'll get them worked out. You're absolutely right. We need a lot of input.
Thank you.
Sylvia. You're next.
Along the line, along the lines of Bob Bender and also Rosemary, it occurs to me that unfortunately, the new location that we would like to go into is really way in the future. We don't even know when exactly it's going to happen. Therefore, we still have our office and the conference room the way it is now. When David says that the chair of the standing committee would be the one sitting in the conference room, it would be very difficult as far as my committee is concerned. There are 9 people on my committee trying to take into consideration the virus, distancing, more than just masks. The governor herself has the virus right now, and she's putting forth this situation, or at least the state is. I don't know if it's just her fault, but I don't see how, if the chair is in the conference room on camera, where would her committee be? Where would the public be? And do we then have to have another location where they are as opposed to where I am? I don't really understand any of this. And we keep going around and around about all the things that are on the resolution, but we're not really coming up with any answers. And I am getting very nervous, like Ed is, to put myself in that kind of position, not because of the technology, but all the other situations that face into it. And I don't think we have the answers yet. There's no one there that has the answers, Laura. I don't think you have, and you don't have anyone to go to find out. So how do I get past this?
Well, we're all traumatized to go back in person after over 2 years. It's very traumatic. And if the number, first, I want to say, if numbers go up with COVID, there is language in the state law that gives them the right to cancel all of this temporarily and everyone go back to Zoom, which is what we have now. We are on Zoom, the public is on Zoom, we're all on Zoom.
I understand.
But after June 9th, they are ordering people to go back in. We are emptying that conference room. We're not putting up so many tables. We'll have room for more chairs. That's where committees will have the easiest time, because we're rewiring and making it so it will be the least problematic, as opposed to going to somewhere else and dealing with, do they have Wi-Fi? This whole thing is totally challenging. It's a new animal. It hasn't been done. We have time to transition to it. Everyone has concerns. You're right. This thing was like a hodgepodge. Even the borough president yesterday, he said, this is a mess. I put that in quotes. He said, this is a mess. So fast, so thrust upon us. You have to have a resolution, by June 9th, if you even want to have the option. I felt we needed the option, so here we are. A benefit, even in 6 months after we're operational, if we reject this model, that means we're all in person. That's it. There's no easy peasy way out with this. It's just going to be difficult for us to find venues, to the nervousness. So I don't know. You're right. We'll just have to see, because this is very difficult.
Well, a second question that I have, as far as your 6-month period to try this out, is that something that the state allows, or are they going to say, well, that's in your resolution, you can't do that?
No, it is in our resolution. I read this piece to the BP yesterday. I wanted to make sure that we could sunset whatever we're voting on, just the way they've sunset. This is sunset for 2 years, after 2 years on the part of the state. And my first resolution that I showed at exec said a year, June 2023. And after hearing all this, I said, you know what, how about 6 months? And so, no, that's perfectly acceptable, Sylvia. And you know what, if it's a total disaster, we'll go earlier. But we're just trying this out. And we're one of the very few boards that are doing this. Most of the boards in the Bronx, what I learned yesterday is, they're not going to try this out. So because of the challenges. Okay, so I see Bob Fanuzzi and I see Dan. Bob.
Laura, my hand has been up. You've skipped over me twice.
Yeah, because you already talked.
I understand that.
So that's why. Madam
Madam Chair, am I recognized?
Yes,
Thank you. Um, Use of Zoom is optional, correct?
it depends on what the
For
committee,
for
what the
committee.
committee wants to do,
A
yes.
committee chair, committee member does not, committees do not have to adopt Zoom meetings. They do have
Right.
to meet in person,
Right, then they
correct?
would be all in person.
Okay, so anyone who has problems with technology, who's not a chair of the board or is a committee chair, is not affected by this. This gives leeway to larger
Yes,
groups
there's
than the chair of the
flexibility.
board to
Yes.
do, if they want to do Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. Does this preclude people who would like to do Zoom from actually having their meetings in locations that are specific to the issue? At the exec committee, I brought up the problem of being sequestered in a out of the way and small committee room in the board office.
If
Um,
you, if,
Obviously, if you're going to have an in-person meeting without the Zoom option, you can go wherever you want. So we retain our rotation schedule of committee meetings.
right,
But
this is,
this resolution does not preclude a committee appearing in a off-site location that has strong and
absolutely not,
means tested, a field tested Wi-Fi, correct?
absolutely not. No, that would be
All right.
great.
Okay, those answer my questions. One more thing, would you be open to a friendly amendment to shrink the time of inspection from 6 to 4 months?
From 6 to 4 months.
Because a lot of people are concerned, it has a lot of staffing issues for big meetings.
You know, I don't know, because it'll take, it'll take quite a while. We'll have successes and failures.
We want 6 months.
I'll tell you, I think that maybe we'll leave it, and then if somebody makes a motion to move it up, that we do that, then we'll do it in 4 months.
Okay, I really think.
I don't know, any other feelings on that?
I really would like to call a question, because I think this is an option for people. It will improve board community engagement with, and it's with our board meetings. It's only incumbent on those who would like to do it. It's not incumbent on anyone to do this. It's the option to do it if you'd like. Okay, and it also doesn't stop you from going to a committee site that may have good Wi-Fi and that you've checked out in advance.
Right, we have a problem in Community Board 8 because in our rotation from September to June, we always relied heavily on nursing homes, be it St. Patrick's, being Citadel, being the rehab on Broadway. You know, they're not gonna let us in. So.
Yeah, those are meeting issues that are distinct.
Right.
That
So
are
if
universal.
you have, if we can arrange a site that has the capabilities we need, and hopefully we're getting technology things to help us with that. It's all wide open, Bob. You know, it's going to be experimentation.
Okay.
But
if someone wanted to go out,
I would accept 4 months.
I'll have something else or whatever.
I don't think that was for the resolution.
Okay, so.
Okay, I'm
So
done. Thank you.
a friendly amendment to evaluate it in 4 months. Is there any opposition to that?
The point of information, Laura,
Yes,
is that the 4/6 months? Is that from the date of implementation? The only, the
implementation.
question, yeah, that's my question. Just because, we're going to have, I don't know if it's 4 months from now or from, okay, just that.
Okay,
That was a
Dan,
clarification.
excellent question. Not from the date of acceptance of this resolution, but the date of implementation. That is
That's
correct.
right.
Thank you.
And we're not implementing this until we satisfy that we have the capability and we've done the training and, yeah. So I would think it might start in September.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, but we'll see. But how does everybody feel about
Well, somebody
making
just has
4
to.
months? Wait, can we have one person talking at a time? I would accept
We
your,
want a second. I want a second.
okay,
Madam Chairman, I object.
okay, Chuck, then that's it. It stays at 6 months. Okay, there's an objection. Okay, who has not spoken and has a hand up?
I haven't spoken yet.
Dan, go ahead.
So my question is just the issue of kind of, and we spoke about it a little bit at the executive committee, And you had mentioned, I believe Rosemary asked about a consultant, and I think you said that you had already reached out to a consultant or thought about a consultant. I think you had thought about a consultant and interns. And I was wondering if, if that could be worked into this resolution somehow as well.
Well, this is unfunded.
Or if we could,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I guess, or the other thing is if we could, put up to a certain amount of our own OTPS budget, maybe it's $2,500 towards a consultant. And again, I think my feeling towards that is to help those chairs that really need help with it or to advise us.
I think that's all part of the pie. What we learned yesterday at the borough president, because we asked just for that, we thought the BP could hire consultants, and since it's evening meetings, like 7 and 8 can share that person. And we came up with all kinds of scenarios. At this juncture, the borough president is not offering any IT or any assistance. We can choose to do, I think, exactly what you're saying. We could look into that, see what the costs are. Yeah, but as far as getting assistance from government, this is an unfunded mandate.
Understood. So I think it's personally beneficial when I'm hearing Sylvia and Ed's concerns here of helping chairs. Maybe a consultant can kind of help, some of those chairs out with implementation where they might need.
I agree. Yeah, I think we all would agree on that.
So the question is, do we try to work that into our budget for next year? And again, or something that we want to say about that.
I think we will look into it. At this juncture, we're passing this to give us the flexibility to do hybrid. So
Understood.
taking it step by step. Yeah, I think that would be very desirable. Okay, let's see. Anyone hasn't spoken once?
I just want to, can I just say
No,
something?
no, I got hands up here. Hands up. Don't get me killed here, Ed, okay? If everybody has spoken, David.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Please realize that if we do nothing, we are going to be having all of our meetings in the conference room at the old office, at least for June, probably September, October, November, and December. Now, we may eventually find other spaces, but at the very least, we will be in the office conference room in June. And I think that dealing with the technology is pretty straightforward, and I would be glad to work with Kira on setting that up. But that aside, I actually disagree with giving the chairs the option of not going hybrid, but actually it's quite convenient in this context, because if we pass this and say that the chairs don't have to go hybrid, then they don't have to worry about that technology. They will just have their meeting in person in the conference room. All this does,
Or wherever.
all this does is give the chairs and you, Madam Chair, for the whole board and exec, the option to broadcast a Zoom meeting, which we have done very successfully for 2 years. And something to keep in mind is that we are having a great deal of difficulty, as you've noted, finding other locations for meetings. So we may be stuck in that conference room. And the best way to, as Ed said, serve the community is to make sure that they can at least Zoom in if they don't have the time, are uncomfortable being in public, in a closed space, whatever the case might be. We must be there, but there's no reason why the community must be there. Let's at least give the individual chairs in the month of June, not September, in the month of June, the option to go hybrid. If any or all of the chairs opt out, okay,
Okay.
because it is an option.
If possible, we do have a full complement of gallery and a full meeting ahead of us. Myra hasn't spoken yet. Myra, go right
Okay.
ahead.
I just wanted some clarification because I'm like completely confused.
Join the club.
Okay, so board members who are committee members, is this suggesting that they have to be physically at the meeting. And
Yes.
we can do like, so the public can be on Zoom, but we have to physically be at the meeting.
Correct.
Is it, okay,
Unless you
unless,
have a very, there's a small group, I hope, who have some kind of extenuating circumstance such as sickness, caretaking, where they would let the office know ahead of time that they will not be in attendance, they will Zoom in.
okay,
Okay, but and then that has to be stated in the minutes that
Right.
they went that method and why.
right.
And
That I got.
so, yeah,
That I got. So, no, I just want to drive home this point that if we have to be physically at a meeting, we also have to remember, and I think Karen or Sylvia brought this up, a lot of us don't have cars, and Ed brought this up. A lot of us, if we're of course, we're at the board office, then I could just walk up the hill. That's not a big deal. But a lot of us don't have a way to get home without begging a ride from somebody or taking public transportation, which is starting to get a little worrisome. So I'm not quite sure how or whether I really understand this and whether I'm in favor of it.
I understand. We're all definitely traumatized. I would like to close our board meeting at 9:30 tonight. If we could just keep our comments brief and just have Bob Bender and Bob Kaplan, is your hand up from before?
No, it's just additional comment.
Okay, go ahead. And I see
Um,
Lisa is new, simply
So
because
the one,
I want to, wrap this part up. Go ahead.
certainly understand. It's just the option, I think that it was brought up before, David brought it up before about the option for committee chairs not to have a hybrid opportunity. If they choose to do so, and I appreciate Ed's offer to have a committee vote on it, then there would be no quote unquote extenuating circumstances for people to not attend committee meetings should there be issues of increased numbers, vulnerability, all that other kind of stuff. And I think that needs to be taken a look at as you begin to understand what options are. I understand totally what Ed said before about additional times and additional pressures upon people. The issue of attendance is another thing that really needs to be taken a look at on a committee level. Should a committee chair or committees decide not to have the hybrid option?
Right. Thank you. Lisa, you haven't spoken. Your hand is up, Lisa?
Yes. Again, I guess we'll talk later or soon about the mask issue, especially in our basement office. But I think the hybrid model will give people an option, the public an option not to attend, but to attend by Zoom. So, if they can't wear a mask or don't want to wear a mask, I do hope that this board agrees to have some safety requirements. And thanks, Bob, for lending some expertise on this, that when we meet in person, which will be in June. So we will need to make some decisions in terms of health coming up very soon. But anyway, I support the hybrid model. It gives us a lot of flexibility, and I don't think it's that difficult to figure out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Now, if you've already spoken and your hand is still up, can you lower it? Okay, Bob, you just spoke. Lisa just spoke. Ed, could you be the last speaker then? And then
Okay.
I think we'll call it for a vote. Ed,
Okay. I just wanted to add to what Dan brought up earlier about the technical support. So my only issue with that is I think that would solve a lot of problems. And as you mentioned before, it's the Bronx, the borough president doesn't want to do, they're not going to be involved in that process. So that's going to be up to the budget of our budget to hire any consultant or any technical support. So my thing is, this should not be something that gets looked into after this process starts. This needs to be done beforehand so we can hit the ground running. I'll tell you, it'll make all the difference. I can only speak on my circumstances, but it would make all the difference in the world to know that I could go to this meeting, and it's going to be hard enough to facilitate this meeting without having to try to figure out all this, regardless of what training we get. So if we had some type of tech support person available to actually set the meeting up and perhaps even transport it, again, this is going to be in our budget, that would be it for me. I'd be fine with doing this, because that would take away a lot of and for all the chairs, it would take away a lot of unnecessary pressure that could possibly be avoided if we had somebody there who's professionally trained to do these type of things. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Ed. I did not formally close the public hearing, the public part, so let me just say right now, we had a public hearing. Then we had discussion by the board members. May we please vote now to add this resolution to the agenda? Is there anyone, because wasn't on our agenda, is there anyone opposed to adding this resolution and vote to the agenda?
Prior to voting, we need a roll call.
I know, but first I'm putting it on the agenda. Oh,
I
yeah,
think-
you're right, you're
yeah,
right. I
let's
need
do-
roll
let's do a
call
roll
first.
call
Yes,
first.
yes, yes. Thank you, Kira. Thank you.
Okay, so
ahead.
here's the roll call. Sylvia Alexander,
Present.
Constance Barnes Watson, Bob Bender,
Here,
Kelly Buford,
Present.
Chris Calhoun,
Here.
Joy Campbell Privatere,
Present.
Sebastian Chitalapalli, Lisa Daub,
Present.
Margaret Della, Margaret Donato,
Present.
Moses Senna,
I'm here present. Sorry, I was trying to get my
sorry,
mute
sorry.
on.
Okay.
Yep.
Bob Fanuzzi.
Here.
Nick Fazio. Steve Fruit,
Present.
David Gelman,
Present.
Rosemary Ginty,
Present.
Julia Gomez,
Present.
Ed Green,
Present.
Rob Jaklowski, Myra Joyce,
Present.
Bob Kaplan,
Present.
Chuck Merdler,
Present.
Ted Morris, Omar Murray,
Present.
Dan Paternak,
Present.
Karen Pesh, Rita Proctor Lowe.
I saw Rita just
I
now.
did too, yeah.
I see her mouthing the word present.
Well, I will accept that. Julie Reyes,
Present.
Georgia Santiago,
Present.
Ramdot Singh.
I saw him a minute.
Me too, yeah.
I did too. So his name.
Ramdot Singh. Oh, there he goes. Laura Spalter,
Present.
Camelia Tepeles. See her.
Present.
Deb Travis,
Present.
Stephen Vasquez,
Present.
Sergio Villaverde, Marty Walpoff.
Present.
Okay. I'll just go back to the ones who weren't here. I don't think they're here yet. Constance Barnes Watson, Sebastian Chitolapoli, Margaret Della, Nick Fazio, Ted Morris. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of placing this on the agenda now, is there any objection to placing this issue, this resolution on the agenda? Any abstentions? Okay, so we have unanimous. For those of you who are just joining, Chair Laura Spalter. We had a public hearing followed by a board member discussion. We are ready to vote on the resolution. And everyone had a chance. They've gotten it in advance. Many questions were answered tonight. Is there anyone opposed to this resolution entering into the hybrid model? Is there anyone opposed?
That's disgusting.
Okay. I don't see any hands. Is there anyone abstaining? So that is unanimous. This board approves our experiment with the hybrid model. And thank you all for your comments. Okay, so I'm calling this meeting to order now, and we will go on with our regular agenda. But before we do the public gallery session, I see Assemblyman Dinowitz is on, and I know he has to leave. So thank you for joining us, Assemblyman Dinowitz, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry to cut in, but I'm in Albany. We're in the middle of session. But I did want to say hello to everybody, and I just want to mention a few things, and I'll do it very quickly. Well, as quickly as I'm able to. I want to announce that we're doing shredding. I know everybody is contacting us all the time about our shredding event. We are doing shredding where you bring all your documents. It's done safely, securely. We're doing it in front of my district office this Sunday from 11 to 1, but we're doing it a few other times as well. In front of the Marshall and Montefiore Center, May 21st from 10 to 1. We're doing it in Wakefield, June 4th, 10 to 1, and in Riverdale on Johnson Avenue, June 12th from 10 to 1. I am going to be announcing, but I'll announce it here, that I was able to secure a $250,000 grant for the Kingsbridge Heights Community Center. The money to go towards programs that they have to prevent gun violence, drug use, gang activity, and the like, because we've had so many problems since the pandemic with increase in crime, and a lot of it relates to young people, and we want to use funding to fight some of this. And the Kingsbridge Heights Community Center has run a program like this for the past year because of funding I got last year, and they've been terrific as usual. I wanted to publicly thank the fire department, FDNY. I think you all know we had a fire on Oxford Avenue on April 27th, and they did an amazing job as usual. And I believe there were no injuries. A lot of firefighters were involved in putting out this fire. So thank you, FDNY. The councilman and I, along with Common Pantry, is running a Nourish food event on Friday of this week from 9 to 12 at Vladeck Hall in the Amalgamated. And the last thing I'll just report is that the courts, I think many of you know, overturned the redistricting of Congress lines and state Senate lines. And those lines are going to be redrawn, but unfortunately means the primary for those positions has been postponed from June 28th to August 23rd. But the primary for governor and other statewide positions, as well as assembly, as far as we know, is still going to be on June 28th. So it looks like we're going to have two separate primaries. It would really be a shame if we had to have our primary at the end of August when many people aren't around. And that's it. I promised you I would keep it short, and I kept it short. So I thank you so much for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman. Okay, we'll move on to our regular gallery speakers, gallery session. Is Taylor Lewis here from the Mentoring Collaboration program? Taylor?
Yes, I am here. Thank you so much.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Let me turn on my camera so you can see my face. Thank you so much for allowing me to join this meeting and tell you briefly about my organization, I Mentor. I'm excited to tell you about how you can make a difference in the life of a young person. My name is Taylor Lewis. I am one of the organization's senior recruitment managers. And who we are is we are a national education nonprofit and youth mentoring program that works to empower first-generation college students to graduate high school, succeed in college, and achieve their ambitions through one-on-one mentorships. Our mentors are all caring adults who are willing to volunteer their time by writing their mentees once a week on our online platform and meeting their mentees in person once per month at their mentee school. We do also have occasional college counseling and diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings. To volunteer in our program, the monthly time commitment is about 2 to 5 hours per month, and our mentors work at a minimum of 2 years for their mentees' junior and senior year of high school. We currently partner with 5 high schools located in the Bronx, one of which is in your district. It's the Marble Hill School of International Studies. We're currently in the process of recruiting about 1,500 men and women to start a mentorship with one high school student this upcoming fall. If you are interested in learning more, I encourage you to check us out online. Our website is imentor.org. You can also start an application if you go to imentor.org/volunteer. That is everything I wanted to share with you all. Thank you all so much for giving me the space at this meeting.
Oh, thank you very much. And possibly our education or youth committee will be interested in following up and getting more information. And so that's excellent. Thank you so much. Our next gallery speaker is Jesus Lopez Jensen here, Introduction to Bronx Council of the Arts. Jesus. Here is Jesus Jensen on the call. Oh, let me move on. I'm not seeing. Okay, is Lori Perkins from Riverdale Avenue Books?
You have Councilman Dinowitz here.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait till I finish the gallery and then we'll do that. Thank you. Is Lori Perkins here? Okay. Is Santi Barrera from Success Academy on the call? Is Beth Morris from regarding the gathering at Endor Memorial Garden?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Beth?
Okay,
Go on.
great. Thank you all for giving me this moment. I wanted to let the board know that there is a second anniversary of 9/11 coming up, and that is the end of the month, and it will be the end of recovery at Ground Zero, the 20th anniversary. And since I know we have our own Riverdale Memorial inside the Endor Gardens, I thought it would be nice to have an informal gathering on the Sunday before the formal program at Ground Zero, just to recognize and to remember those that have sacrificed so much on 9/11 and are still continuing to suffer and unfortunately die from the effects of Ground Zero. I was a volunteer at Ground Zero for 5 months in the supply center that supplied the fire department and the police department with all the supplies they needed at Ground Zero. And I'm very much involved with the 9/11 community. And I thought we would just have an informal gathering. All the muggy mugs and the big shots will be there on May 30th downtown. But I thought since we have our own memorial here, that it would be nice and appropriate to have that moment of time to share. And there was I did get a flyer up through Tom Healy, my contact with Tom Healy. I don't know if you can see it, it's backwards. And it says, informal community gathering to mark the 20th anniversary of the completion of Recovery Ground Zero, honor the sacrifice of 9/11 rescue, recovery, and relief workers. And I thought it would be Sunday, May 22nd, before everybody takes off a Memorial Day weekend at 12 noon, rain or shine, and at the Endor Community Garden at Fieldston Road. And I sort of came from permission and kind of advice as to what we should do to go ahead with this. And I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I was going to sort of host it in quotes and express whomever was there in terms of their thoughts about 9/11 and the first responders in particular.
Well, thank you very much, Beth. Endor Garden is at Fieldston Road and West 253rd Street.
Right.
We will certainly post that on our social media and, send in the flyer.
I did have a question. Do we need to inform the police department that we're going to be gathering there?
I think that's always a good idea. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will be in touch with the local firehouse and the police department through Tom and Mike also. And we'll go on from there if you approve.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you for having me.
Okay, so having concluded our gallery session, I'd like to turn the floor over to Councilman Dinowitz. Eric, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. A few quick updates. Shredding of just a few events first. I know the shredding event was mentioned. We're also doing a testing kit distribution on May 12th at 3107 Kingsbridge Avenue from 11:30 to 12:30. Of course, as I say every time, those of you sign up for my newsletter, will get that notice in your email at ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter. We're still doing our food distribution for older adults. The next one is May 13th at Vladeck Hall and the Amalgamated from 9 to 12. We have a movie night coming up. May 25th, we're showing The Goonies. It's going to start around 8 p.m. The Goonies is a classic movie. Definitely come, bring your kids. If you're a kid, bring your parents and grandparents. Movie night, Seton Park, May 25th. I'm very excited for it. And that same day, we're doing a food distribution earlier from 12 to 2. One of the areas I've been focusing on locally is Bailey Avenue. Yes, it's a gallery session, but you should probably mute yourself. Thanks. Bailey Avenue. There's up and coming businesses there. There's parkland that needs to be revamped. So a few months back, we requested a lighting study from the DOT, and it was approved. So we should look forward in the future to having new lighting, better lighting rather. I'm also looking to open up the park space. So I'm trying to secure the funding to open up the park space that's just south of 238th Street, Tibbetts. Tibbetts Brook, you know about daylighting at Tibbetts Brook. There's going to be a joint meeting between Parks Committee and Environment and Sanitation. I'll let them do the talking, but I do hope you can all be involved. This is going to be a huge benefit to not just our environment, but opening up the green space to our community. At City Hall, I just introduced resolution along with my colleague, Councilmember Abreu, about creating a Jewish Heritage Day in our school. At the Housing and Building Executive Budget hearing, the Rent Guidelines Board wants to increase rents 6%. I think that's too high. A lot of people in rent stabilized settings are going to be evicted. The courts are moving too fast. So in our response to the budget, I sit on the BNT, so I'm working on the budget with my colleagues. Responding to the mayor, we're asking for increased funding for right to counsel and increased funding for city theft, so more people can stay in their home. I encourage everyone who's eligible to sign up for Screen Dree. My office actually personally reached out to everyone who has not yet renewed their Screen Dree applications. So we reached out to them to remind them about the renewals because staying in your home is the number one way to prevent homelessness. It sounds kind of obvious, but it's not. I'm also trying to work with HPD because if, for example, you live in a Mitchell-Lama, you're already filling out an income affidavit. They should be sharing with the Department of Finance what that you are eligible for SCREE. So that should be an easy fix. Obviously, it's the city government, so it's not. But I brought this up at the committee hearing, and I'm following up with HPD about actually working with another city agency so that if you're in some sort of housing like Mitchell-Lama and you are submitting information to the city, they share with the Department of Finance, you can automatically be eligible for SCREE. Additionally, I'm trying to ask you to get a veteran question on there so that if you're a veteran, it'll be logged so they know if you qualify for any other benefits. I'll leave it there. I know I don't want to go over 3 minutes, but again, please follow me on social media. That's where you'll get the most up-to-date information. And you can sign up for my newsletter at ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter.
Thank you, Councilman. Next is report from the Borough President's Office. Someone from the Borough President's Office in attendance?
Hi, good evening. My name is Alexis. I'm from the Bronx Borough President's Office. How are you?
Welcome, thank you.
I'm happy to be here. So just a few updates. Community board members who have submitted a reappointment application should continue to serve until they receive a letter from the Borough President's Office regarding their reappointment. Please check your emails and the Borough President's website for current press releases and information on upcoming events. Bronx Week has begun, and the end date for Bronx Week is May 15th, just in case anyone does not know. You can check the Borough President's website to learn more about the different events that's happening. I'm going to enter my information in the chat and stay for the remainder of the meeting in case anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending. Next is report from the 50th precinct. I think I was told earlier that they're not in attendance. I'm just checking, Kira.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
They were unable to make it tonight.
Right. Next is Chair's report. I'll be brief. Please refer to the executive minutes. Just a few quick announcements. I want to announce that the Borough President's Office has selected to honor Chuck Murther, Karen Pesch, and Marty Walpoff based on their many years of service. They will be hosted at dinner tomorrow night, and congratulations. I want to say that there are nominations for the Irving Latimer Community Service Award and Most Valuable Merchant Award. Those nominations are being accepted through May 15th, and they are coming in. And I want to thank the Economic Development Committee for their work on this. And we have an ad hoc committee for the Community Service Award, and they are Rob Jaglowski, Stephen Vasquez, and Chris Calhoun. So thank you for your service. A little update on Riverdale Avenue redesign. I wrote to the Assistant Director for Operations for Metro North Railroad. I sent the DOT's plan along with our concerns where the potential bottlenecks and the turnaround at the city line might affect the Riverdale Hudson Rail Link and other bus schedules. The response I got was that thank you very much, because they had no idea about this redesign plan. DOT had not reached out to them, and I heard that the next step is that MTA wants a meeting with DOT to discuss this. We are also involved and pressing Metro North to make that meeting happen, because the last report was MTA was still waiting to hear about, a date, but there's that. I'll continue to update you on that. Let's see, update on 6661 Broadway, the homeless shelter. To date, the contract remains in the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. It has not been sent to the controller. However, I just learned today that contract is moving rapidly, that AAPCI is finishing their environmental reviews, and that there will be a closing on that property. Very disappointing to learn because of all the corruption. AAPCI is not appropriate because of that corruption. The model of 130, that congregate model, is not appropriate, and we will continue to harp on that. And that is my report. Thank you.
Police Officer Sala is on the call.
Yeah, I'm just texting with Officer Sala. He is on the call, and he's just going to give a brief report.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
Officer. Thank you. Sure.
Good evening. This is Officer Sal from the 50th Precinct Community Affairs Office. I hope everybody's well. I'm just going to be brief because obviously we are kind of in the middle of a lot of different things going on right now. So, all right. So unfortunately, we had a murder this year. So that's up from last year from 0 to 1. As far as I know, the investigation is pending, and it seems to be I don't know how much information I could give you, but as we think we know who it is, and there are charges pending for that individual. That's as far as I can go with that. I don't want to say anything else because I don't really know enough to really comment on that. So as rape, we went up from 0 to 1. Usually that's a domestic related crime. Robbery, we went from 2 to 12, which is a big increase from last year. Obviously, with things opening up, pretty much, I'm looking at the numbers now, everything seems to have increased. Felony assault went down 1 from 12 to 11. Burglaries have gone up from 7 to 19. Grand larcenies have gone from 25 to 58, which is a lot. Grand larceny autos have gone up from 6 to 25. So like I said before, being that things are opening up and now the warmer weather has gotten here, this is over the last 28-day period. Things tend to increase from the winter to the spring to the summer. I could stay on for a few more minutes. If anybody does have any questions, they can ask me, and if I don't know the answer, I'll definitely speak to the commanding officer. He apologizes that he's not able to make it tonight, Captain Gervin, and I could relay whatever questions you have for us.
Well, we'll have time for 3 questions because of we have to move forward. I see Bob Fanuzzi, your hand is up.
Thank you. There is a traffic enforcement issue at the Central Business District on Johnson Avenue. People are parking their cars at a light and leaving the cars to usually go to coffee or wherever else they're going to go. We need a patrol or enforcement division there to stop people from parking and leaving. The corner is really the corner where Dunkin' Donuts is and the Starbucks is going both directions. Could you put an officer there or a unit there?
We actually do have an officer that does go by there. As far as staying in one location for a long period of time, I'm pretty sure we've covered this before. Usually they try to stay at where there's like accidents and, God forbid, injuries and things of that nature. We are aware of the traffic issues on Johnson Avenue. I go there myself, so I know I see it, and we try to address it as best as we can. I will bring it up to the traffic sergeant, and we'll do what we can and definitely bring it to his attention again. I'm sure he already knows about it, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again.
Officer, what is your solution to that problem?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by a solution. We could do what we can as far as summoning people, which is what we do now. Obviously, it kind of made things a little harder now that the restaurants have the spaces there as well. That didn't help. So they really, I mean, unfortunately, when you have businesses and when you have like ATMs there and things like of that nature, you're gonna have people, parking and running in and out. So if we have a whole bunch of businesses within the 50th precinct that we have to make sure that we monitor, and Broadway is like the biggest one, right? So Broadway is the one that garners the most attention because there's the most traffic there, both pedestrian and vehicular. So our attention is usually there or in places where people get hurt. As far as Johnson is concerned, again, it's really up to the people that live there and the store owners to try to, make sure that people are not leaving their car there, while they're getting whatever they get. And if they
I
are,
can't write a ticket though. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I can't write a ticket though.
No, you can't. But if you're the person parking there, then obviously you would be the person, they would have to speak to. So if I own a restaurant, I could tell people that come in, hey, listen, just try not to double park if you don't mind parking around the corner or something like that. But aside from that, obviously the officers are going to do what they can to address it, but we can't be everywhere at the same time 24 hours a day. That's just not a possible thing. We can be there whenever possible. And the traffic sergeant will make sure that somebody's there during the busy hours. But again, a lot of times the busy hours are overlapping with other issues like the schools getting out. So we have to monitor the schools and the kids that come out, and the crimes increase during those times because there's more people around being assaulted, being robbed, being, harassed and things of that nature. So we have to try to address everything as best as we can all at once.
Yeah, that situation is exacerbated by the fact that we have a lot of restaurants operating on the street under that program, and we lost a lot of spots. And
Yes.
it was tight before, so that exasperates that. Thank you, Sergeant. Ed Green. And then Chuck, and that's all we have time for questions. All right, Ed?
Yeah, hi, Officer Sala. The CompStat you have, statistics you have available, do you have the total number of crimes that in this last 28-day period as opposed to the same time last year available?
Yeah, that's what I was reading off. It compares this 28-day period to last year's 28-day period.
What are the
So
totals?
So
Just combined.
what do you mean by, because it's divided by crime. So if you're asking specifically about grand larcenies, so totals in 2022 are 127 total crime.
And what were they
So
last year?
For last year was 52.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Chuck?
Let me suggest, Officer Sala, a solution if the police department cannot do it. And that is to recommend to the Traffic and Transportation Committee that Johnson Avenue be closed to public vehicular traffic completely. Now, that will not help the restaurants who have failed to do any policing at all of traffic in the area, and they deserve it. In other words, close the damn street or clean it up, one way or the other.
Thank you, Chuck. Moving on now to the treasurer's report. Joy?
Good evening, everyone. This is the treasurer's report for May 2022. Directing your attention to item number 1, we have $90,194 remaining from the budget. Kara advises that bills were approved just today. Purchases are being made, and this will be reflected in next month's budget report. Item number 1, 1.1, other than personal services. As an initial matter, this follows a question that was posed by Dan at last week's exec meeting, why the numbers didn't comport. What was listed in the itemized, the breakout for other than personal services did not comport with item 1.0. And the reason is that there was code 400 was inadvertently missing. And so when you add the 3789 to what was the 3813, you get the 41802. So that's the explanation. Thank you, Dan, for pointing that out.
Thank you, Troy.
You're welcome. Item 1.2, there are no budget mods this month. The budget mod that was done last month is reflected in this month's report. Item 1.3, we have 7975 in encumbered funds. And item 1.4, there is 17,614 remaining. Okay. Now, if we could put up the addendum. Okay, addendum A. This is the projected report or projected budget for fiscal year 23. And this permits OMB to set up our account. These line items are consistent with last year and the year before, and it apparently has worked out well. And I just want to draw your attention to item or code number 499, and that provides $20,000 as a cushion. If we end up moving, the expenses could be paid out of that or other bills that may arise. And as always, we can do a budget mod if we need one. So the total for the projected budget is $35,020. And with that, I'd like to introduce the resolution to approve the fiscal year 23 projected budget. Whereas,
Whoops, disappeared. Oh, okay.
whereas the treasurer and district manager of Bronx Community Board prepared a projected operating budget below for the board's expenses for fiscal year 23, be it resolved that Community Board 8 approves the projected operating budget for fiscal year 23. Laura?
Okay, are there any questions? I
see Camelia has her hand up.
Okay. I didn't. Okay,
Can I
Camelia.
proceed? Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much, Joy. Just one quick note. Actually, two points I want to make very quickly. I thought that was very interesting and well thought, the fact that we do have a little cushion of $20,000. Mind you of the point made by, who was it? Was it Ed or Dan?
Dan.
Previously, yes, regarding the consultant. I'm not even sure if we need a consultant, but I do feel like if a staff member would be there in situations where chair feel like they need this technical assistance and there would be a need for overtime, this would be money very well spent and very well planned to have this this buffer available for situations like this one. The staff actually would have to be physically present really at late hours, not from the convenience of their homes, but probably in the board office. And second, just as a matter of presentation, Joy and Kira, so you're calling this, you know, the budget or fiscal 23, but in fact, it is only the section that is OTPS, correct? Other than personnel services, because the personnel services, if I remember correctly, it's somewhere around 230,000, something of at that level. So if you don't mind, just in future presentations, when you do present for board approval full budget, to
Camelia, I'm sorry. I muted you while trying to unmute myself. I'm so sorry.
did you hear my point about the full budget?
Just not the ending. I'm sorry, that was my fault.
Yeah. Okay, so but did you understand what I was saying? That we only see a section of the OTPS section of the budget, $35,000, while the personnel services are actually the big chunk, 238, or I don't know how much exactly, but over 200,000. So my suggestion would just be, as a matter of presentation for the future, to have the entirety of the budget presented to the full board for approval, and also not only the next fiscal, but people usually present current fiscal and future fiscal for board members to see, you know, by comparisons lines that go up or down, or, you know, just a suggestion. I know you've been operating on this for a very long time, but I think it's you know, it's a way to kind of be more transparent and also train people that don't have the habit of maybe looking at budget to, you know, to have the full information. So that was my suggestion, and thank you.
Thank you.
May I answer that, Laura?
Yeah, of course.
Number one, Camelia, just so you know, unfortunately, staff is unable to get paid overtime. We
comp time.
Tanya and Pablo would, if they worked a late meeting like tonight, they get comp time. So they're not eligible, unfortunately, for overtime like cash. Or added to their track.
But I'm sorry, but we can play with their time, meaning to call them later in the day at the office so that they could stay to assist chairs that would need technical assistance. We could do that as far as playing with the actual hours, right? That's
Not
what you
really.
There
just said?
is a little flexibility there. But that also adds some complications. But yes, there would be some flexibility there, but I just would like for you to remember there's only 3 of us. You know, we're very busy in the office during the day. So it's just a little complicated, but I think it's something we'll be able to figure out. And then just regarding the personnel services, it's not in the resolution and the addendum because that's not what the board is voting on. It's actually, if you look at the operating budget, table 1, personal services is listed up there every month.
Yes, but that's fiscal 22, while now you're asking for approval for fiscal 23. So all I'm
Right, so
saying
it
is
wouldn't
if you
change
wouldn't
in
mind
fiscal.
adding that line so that people know what's the totality of the budget for fiscal 23, which is personal 233,534 plus the 35,020. Am I correct?
Yeah, there's a way we could add that going forward.
Thank you so much.
Camelia, yesterday's discussion at the Borough President's office, many board chairs, district managers brought up the fact that our staff is union and that to expect them to work a day job and a night job, and if they get comp time, they can't do the day job. And they're totally needed during the day. So there was a feeling amongst 12 community boards that this has to be figured out, but not with staff. So,
I understand. Is our staff right now full-time in the office, the three of them?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, let's see, we have to vote. Okay. Oh no, Sylvia, sorry. Sylvia, did you have your hands up? Yeah. Did you have a question? Sylvia? I don't know. Ramdad
Please
is
muted, and Ramdad also has his hand up.
Okay,
Ramdad,
I'm
okay,
unmuted
Sylvia.
now.
Okay.
My question is just a question. The item for telecommunication in 23 is $250. You have 20,000 that you can move around as far as expenses come up. Talking about a technical person, talking about equipment that you have to buy and everything, I don't think that is really a cushion at all. You're going to run short. What do we do when we run out of money?
I can't see us running out of
Oh,
money.
sorry. I can answer that. For example, we just spent money that right now, Friday, our conference room, a new screen, a microphone, a camera, was all installed. We bought all new equipment. The past two, so a lot of, I'm trying to spend as much funding now to save funding next year. And then in addition to that, if the board does want to hire a consultant, which is something that I am definitely going to explore, that would be, that would have to come out of contractual services. It would be a contracted person. And again, I don't think it's necessary, or I would advise not to change this right now until we know exactly what that would look like. And that's something that we can do at the first meeting in September, or next month. We can do we can change that. But this is for the past 2 years, the board has felt, the officers have felt comfortable with that $20,000 cushion should any unexpected bills come up. And again, if and when we're moving, we've been told we are responsible for that. So that's just sort of what we've been keeping in the back of our head. And that's why I've been trying to spend as much money on equipment right now. The last budget mod, we did put more money into that office equipment and telecommunications line for that reason.
Thank you.
Chuck, and then Dan. Chuck.
Some years ago, we took a good hard look at trying to create a not-for-profit facility within the board so that we could get donations from grants and the like to meet special needs. As I recall it, the examination at the time showed that there was a problem in doing that vis-a-vis the board because it could not be done within the framework of the board. What is it? It is a vehicle in and by which people can make contributions to the board that either are or are not tax deductible, but just as a contribution to the board. There are conflict issues that arise from that, and there are lots of other issues that arise from that. But the fact is, I think we ought to take another look at trying to create a parallel facility that can collect money which will be used for these kind of emergencies, such as equipment and the like, or a consultant and the like. And I'd like to see if we can put something like that together to see if we can do it. If we can, I think we will have no great trouble raising $20,000, $30,000, which is all we're talking about.
Thank you, Chuck. Dan?
Hey, Laura, I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify on Camelia's question. Last week, we learned that I think 2 staffers were in the office each day and 1 staffer worked from home. And tonight, if I'm hearing you right, all 3 staffers are back in the office. Did that change this week?
No, we're still on a, I can't think of the word. We're still 2 and 1, and
So-
we change each day.
So 2 staffers from 9 to 5 and 1 staffer work from home?
Yeah, well, what, yeah. Mhm.
I mean, there are
No, if
times
it's
when
not,
all
tell me,
3 are
so-
together as well. I mean, there are times when all 3 or
Yeah,
two-
for example, we'll all be there tomorrow. I was in there today by myself. So it does fluctuate, but you mentioned just 9 to 5, 1 staffer is 8:30 to 4:30.
But I guess I'm hearing something different. Some days there's only 1 staffer in the office.
Well, just for example, today, there was a conflict, so I was there by myself.
But the
So there
normal
are days
routine
where
is,
there are conflicts.
I guess what I'm looking for is just the normal. What's the normal each day right now, the plan? Is it
2
2
people
staffers in,
in,
1
1
home,
person, yeah.
work from home? Okay.
It's also
I just-
complicated because we've had a lot of vacation and sickness and illness. So even, it just always seems like, you don't have your full complement, but that's, that happens, that's life. So.
No, I understand all that. I just want to know
Yeah.
what the routine was, the normal.
Yeah.
And I got the answer. The answer is 2 in, 1 work from home. That's it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so is there anyone opposed to the resolution on the budget? Please raise your hand. Everybody put your hands down so we don't get confused, please. Okay, I don't see any hands. I see no hands. Okay, is there anyone abstaining on the budget? Okay, so we 100% we passed that resolution. Okay, thank you, everybody. And thank you particularly Joy, because I know how hard you've worked. District Managers Report. Kira.
Good evening, everyone. I have a really brief report tonight. Please refer to the exec minutes for a more detailed report. But I just want to, we spoke at exec at length about the sexual harassment training for board members. And I know some people have tried and have had issues. If you have any issues, please reach out to me and the DCAS compliance email provided, and we will work our best to get you some help. I know there's been some issues and there's been some delays on DCAS's end, but I'm trying to expedite any sort of troubleshooting on my end. So just give us a ring or an email if you have any issues. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here from the Department of City Planning? We already did our roll call. I think we'll move on to our committee reports. Chuck, on land use, you're first.
We, thanks to Marty Wolpoff and David Goldman, we have been monitoring the STAG building and construction effort on Riverdale Avenue. There has been cooperation so far from all sides, the people who live nearby and the developer. They are at the moment stopped because of a problem involving a doorway and some lack of reports on a rock, but that I think will get itself straightened out and hopefully we'll have the smooth kind of sailing, but we'll see. I'd be surprised if it's totally smooth, but we'll do the best we can. The other item that we were dealing with was an issue involving housing. There are a number of rumors flying around, many of which I think are absolutely going to happen. One is that City of New York, City Planning will come forward with a proposal for rezoning for areas to upzone to create more housing in various areas. And that, as Cranes pointed out today, there will be additional affordable housing. And that's where the biggest problem is coming. There is no real meaningful definition of affordable housing. There's a definition based on the AMI, the annual median income, but that's not real because it includes part of Westchester, and what's affordable in this community is not affordable in the South Bronx. And what's affordable in the South Bronx is more than they need on the east side of Manhattan. So what we have to do is to explore how we can restructure that. One example that has been given is that you measure the affordable housing needs on a postal code basis. Then you get it closer to reality. We need more. There are ways of doing it. And so we have a 5-person working group that is going to be meeting, I think it's Thursday evening, to start working on this so we can present real hard information and thoughts, certainly by September, and see where we can get this thing going and moving along. One of the issues is we have been reactive for too long. It's about time we became proactive, because the city of New York and the people of New York really need more housing of all kinds, not just affordable, certainly not more such luxury, but Mitchell Armor is gone, but maybe it should be reborn. So those are the issues that we have got to talk about, and we are going to talk about. And that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Chuck. Marty, law, rules, and ethics.
Yes, I want to keep mine short also. I will stick to 2 points. And then first is when the minutes are for approval, I want to note that I have a correction for what took place at the executive committee. And I'm going to read now for the minutes now, what I hope the executive committee minutes will be changed to. So let me get that right here. So the first paragraph, which talks about my reporting on wordsmithing, I would like the following to be the wording, because I'm going to report that exactly right now. Mr. Wolfer presented on the question of wordsmithing on resolutions. His report concerned the situation when a committee chairperson contacted the members of the committee for input on an updating of a resolution to be presented to the full board. Although there were some expressions to the contrary, Mr. Wolpuff, after seeking further clarification from the New York State Committee on Open Government, offered COG Advisory Opinion 5577, which explains that seeking input from committee members to enhance a resolution does not involve bringing together a quorum. It does not involve bringing together a quorum, changing the intent of the original resolution, or getting a vote is permissible under the open meetings law. So that's my first point. My
Marty,
second point.
wait, Marty, you sending that in to the?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Actually, I already have.
Okay.
But my second point is last week I asked the office to send to all board members the recommendation from LRE concerning setting up guidelines for meetings. I do this, we did this because COG and open meetings law suggest that such guidelines exist. And 2, to make it more apparent and easier for members of the community if they know in advance what the rules will be for a particular committee, actually for all the committees. Although it's important to note that these are guidelines, these are not rules, and chairpersons still have flexibility to run their committee their way. We just hope that this is helpful. I ask each of you to look at it, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please submit them to me. And so we will update the draft to include any comments that come forward. That's my report for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that procedures guide will be very helpful. Thank you, Marty. Parks and Recreation, Ramdot.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'll definitely keep my report very brief as well, because I know we have a packed agenda. First thing is graffiti. We've seen a lot of graffiti. If you are walking through our parks and see any graffiti issues, please put in a 301 complaint and send in the 301 complaint number to the office, and we'll happily follow up to make sure that's power washed and cleaned and so on and so forth. The graffiti is removed. And this month we are doing a joint meeting with ENS on daylighting, where DEP and DPR will be coming to present on daylighting. And I will let Bob Fanuzzi from ENS talk about the rest of the meeting dates and the process. And that's all for my chair's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramdot. Ed, Public Safety.
I'm sorry, I just had one question for Ramdot, if I might, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Ramdot, you say that the joint meeting is on daylighting. My assumption is it's also on the ULURP item that was passed by this board. It will also include the green space, the bike path, the plantings, the walk with the recreational space that is to go between 230 and 240th. It's not just daylighting. Am I correct in saying that?
The whole plan will be presented from DEP and DPR.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Absolutely.
Thanks, Rosemary.
It's a greenway. Okay, Ed. No, Public Safety, Ed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one question for Ramdot, just as a follow-up. Just,
Sure.
it'll be very quick, and I'm sorry, I was trying to raise my hand. The question, Ramdot, do you know, or maybe Bob, whichever, when are we gonna get the plan? Will we get it before May 25th or whatever?
Yes, we will. Bob, do you want to address that?
We will, Dan. I'm trying to get the date that they're gonna give it to us.
That's great. I just don't want another DOT situation. That's why I'm asking.
No, and they're required actually. So.
Excellent.
Yes, we received a notice from them in writing that they will give it to us in advance.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Third time, a charm.
Third
Ed.
time's the charm. Okay, Public Safety Resolution. We have one resolution for a renewal application for a full liquor license for Gaelic Athletic Association of Greater New York. So Joan Henchy, their representative, showed up. There was an issue with the address being incorrect, which she addressed afterwards. We put in the whereas clause, and the 50th precinct stated they were unaware of any prior disturbances, complaints about the establishment. So the committee approved it unanimously, and that's our only resolution.
Okay, any questions for Ed? Anyone opposed to the resolution? Anyone abstaining on this resolution? Okay, unanimously passed, and thank you, Ed. Any other?
Okay, also, I'd just like to say, at our last committee meeting, we had Bronx DA Darcel Clark as the guest speaker, and it was a very informative discussion about criminal justice reform. So, and if anybody's interested in viewing that, they can request the Zoom video recording. I just feel that the meeting, you know, it helped the board establish a stronger connection to the Bronx DA's office, and the DA suggested we contact her anytime we need anything. So I thought that was productive. Also, you know, there's been recent increase in crime in our area that's kind of, it's becoming concerning. And Officer Sala spoke on this month's CompStat reports, which is just, you know, I think he said 127 crimes as opposed to 57. Well, last month's with 122 as opposed to 55 in the previous month. So there's been an uptick in crime. So this committee, we're going to have a guest speaker next at our next meeting from the Manhattan Institute to discuss criminal justice reform. But after that, I'm really getting concerned about what's going on. So the focus of this committee is going to be on local crime and trying to figure out why this crime is increasing and what can be done to reverse this trend. So that's pretty much going to be the focus of our committee, and that's all I got for this month.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. TNT, Traffic and Transportation. Deb?
Hey there, everybody. Good evening. Let's see, in the news items, the New York City Transit hired a president, the first permanent president of New York City Transit since Andy Byford left his role. His name is Richard Davey, and he is the former Transportation Secretary of Massachusetts. Also, I just wanted to raise the DOT open streets ruling. On March 23rd, New York State Supreme Court ordered a complete environmental review under seeker for the DOT open restaurant program. New York City DOT had filed a neg deck stating that there was no negative impacts that required environmental review, even before the formal rules were adopted. They basically just said that they would adopt rules that would not have an impact. The judge, Frank Nervo, said the program has at a minimum impacted traffic and noise levels and may have significantly impacted sanitation. And petitioners cite the increase in noise complaints in locations where the program has been implemented as further evidence of the environmental impacts. Consequently, these impacts may be significant, and therefore the environmental impact study and public comment are required under seeker. The city has 30 days to appeal that ruling. And then finally, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced on the 23rd of April an investment of $904 million to fund the streets plan. They're committing $904 million over 5 years, which is $580 million in capital funding, as well as expense funding that ramps up to $65 million annually, or about $327 million over 5 years. That's all specifically for the streets plan initiatives. As far as I can tell from reading it, that there's nothing specifically that would impact this community board, that there would primarily be in other community boards, except for like, citywide things. And then finally, it is that time of the year when we want to make sure we have our paving requests submitted. As DOT is making its plans for fall paving, we will be discussing which blocks we've already submitted and their status at the next TNT meeting. If you have specific blocks, please submit them to the board office or come to the meeting and we can discuss them. And then I just refer you to my April minutes for updates on the committee work. Our next meeting is May 19th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. Youth. Julia, I'm sorry. Is Julia on the call? Or we'll circle back. Maybe she's muted. Aging. Dan.
Hi, Madam Chair. Yesterday, HRA came in to our committee and discussed the different variables and availability of medical insurance for those seeking Medicaid. We will put the exact presentation and attach it to our minutes this month, so that way everyone can see it. There were a lot of details within there that I certainly wasn't aware of, and it was definitely beneficial. Our next meeting will be second Monday in June. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Budget, David.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. All the committees except for two submitted their budget requests by April 30th. I compiled them into our two lists of capital and expense budget priorities in the order received. Of course, this is for fiscal year 24. Things were a little busy around the office recently. So the plan is to have Laura and Kira and I to take a first look at it before our next exec meeting in June, and we will proceed from there. As a quick aside, I just want to say, since we passed this hybrid meeting approach, I just want to offer my time and services to Kira in the office to do what we can to facilitate our progression on that as soon as possible before our June meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for that offer, David. We'll take you up on it. Economic development. I know Nick couldn't be with us tonight. Anyone reporting?
Yeah. Yep, Mo's here.
Thank you.
I'll be taking over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'll try and be quick as I can. So we had a meeting on April 28th. Please refer to our minutes. Thank you to Enzo from Council Member Dinowitz's office for connecting us with the Bodega and the Small Business Association, and for Mr. Marte of the association for presenting at that meeting. Nominations for the Betty Campbell Most Valuable Merchant Award. Really looking forward to seeing that, folks. They are due by May 15th. So we have a few days left. So please consider sending in your nominations. I think we've received many so far. We want to keep receiving them. So this has been a very active section so far. So glad to see that. Nick had discussed the economic development implications for the Putnam Trail Greenway project with the Borough President's Office and BOEDC. Plans to let us know as soon as there are any updates on that. I think that's a recent meeting. BOEDC has suggested that he meets with several financial institutions that are potentially opening up new branches in the Bronx, which is awesome. Very encouraging to hear. And given the several bank closures that we've dealt with recently, this is going out throughout the borough. And thanks to the interim president, Raphael Roger, for keeping us in mind and during that process. Next meeting for economic development is going to be on Thursday, May 26th. Our SM report will be provided by Ari Oshinsky of River Videos and Vanessa Ortiz of Bronx Girl Designs. We will have presentations by the Business Improvement Council of New York and South Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation on access of the capital and for some more recent iterations of lending programs and helping small businesses in the Bronx. Hope to see you guys there, and that is it for the report.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nick. I see David's hand.
Yes, so quickly, Moses. I don't know if you've spoken with Nick. I sent him a nomination for a Betty Campbell Award last week, and had not heard from him. I tried to reach him today. So if you speak with him, I just want to make sure that we don't miss that deadline of Friday.
Sure, appreciate that.
David,
Yeah, we'll come. Oh, sorry, Kari, go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you send that to the office too?
No, because Nick and I are going to work on it.
Oh,
It's not complete, but thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
There you
Very
go.
good.
I'll send my note. Thank you.
Sylvia, Education, Libraries, Cultural Affairs.
I refer you to my minutes. We have two staples that we passed by the committee. I guess Kira would put them up.
Yep, give me 1 second. Here you go.
Okay, that's the nursery school. Has everyone, I know they were sent home, so has everyone read them? It is from the Amalgamated Nursery School. They're having a spring bazaar block party on the June 5th. It will be from 11 to 3. They will be using the street closure at Gale Place between Orloff Avenue and Van Cortlandt Park. We support it, and it was unanimously of the 5 members that were at the committee. I believe it has to go to the agenda, put on the agenda so the board can vote for it.
But didn't this come out of your committee?
It did come out of my committee.
So we don't need to put it on the agenda. We could just
Oh,
go.
I thought that the board had to vote for it also.
Yeah, we are, definitely. Is there anyone, if there's no discussion, is there anyone opposed to this resolution? Please raise your hand. Let me go back to that here. Is there anybody abstaining? Is there, so that is unanimous?
Great.
Vote for
So-
that, very good.
The second
look at
one,
that
yeah, the second one is from Rabbi Shem Tov of the Chabad of Riverdale. They are having a block party on May 19th, celebrating Lag BaOmer. It will be on West 235th Street between Independence Avenue and Douglas Avenue. And it will be between 2:30 and 8. And I put down approximately 20 years that they've been doing it. However, I had the tape of the meeting, and he announced at the meeting, which I had forgotten, that this year is his 30th year.
Whoa.
So the committee has approved that also with 6 members present.
Thank you, Sylvia. I will go right to a vote. Is there anyone opposed to the SAPO application? Is there anyone abstaining? Again, that is unanimous. Sylvia, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a reminder that the resolution should be changed to the board approving it and not the committee, because we just voted as a board.
Yep, we will
I
change that
thought
when
that
we
it was,
submit it.
that's what I was getting at.
Okay, thank you.
Right, no, on the language, instead of it's the
The
committee,
language,
the
yeah.
board, it's who has approved it. Thank you, Lisa. Environment and sanitation, Bob Fanuzzi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick report. So Rembert already announced our May 25th meeting. The Tibbetts Advisory Group has circulated a recording of their public meeting on April 19th. If you don't have that, would like a copy, please contact the community board. It's been distributed through our board. DEP will be undertaking cleaning of sewers on the major Deegan. And this will probably affect traffic in our district as lanes will be closed. So check in with the community board for more details about that. But I believe it's starting this week and will go on for quite a while. It's designed to reduce outfalls from the major Deegan into the Harlem River. And
But Bob, I
finally,
believe it's at night, though. They're working,
night work, yes.
late at night in the middle of the night, so that will help.
Thanks, Laura. Yep. Finally, I wanted to announce that on July 5th, Department of Sanitation will be resuming alternate side of the street parking regulations. So we'll probably want to post that and redistribute. That's my report, Madam Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Camelia, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. First, just to say thank you to Bob for coordinating the amazing 4-hour walkthrough we had on the Tibbetts Day Landing project, but also to share with the full board because both Rosemary and Dan referred to the information available. Laura has sent on May 4th to the full board a link to the official public site launched by DEP on the Tibbetts project. It currently has both presentations of April 19 and of March 3rd. April 19 has 34 slides. March 3rd has 13 slides. So for all of us that are super excited about the May 25th meeting, if you would like to save some time and review those presentations in advance, you would be caught up with everything that happened. So just wanted to share that. Email from CB8 assigned by Laura on May 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, health, hospitals, and social services.
Just one comment, Madam Chair. I have my hand up.
Sure. Oh, I didn't see
Okay.
it. And I see Deb has her hands up too.
Yeah, just have a quick thing too.
Okay, so just quickly, I very much look forward to the two city agencies coming to our two committees, meeting jointly to fulfill their responsibility to the community and our board in presenting and answering questions on this project. I am very much looking forward to it. So thank you.
Good. Deb.
Hey there, just a quick thing on alternate parking. The alternate parking rules were only suspended for streets where you had to move your car twice in the same week. So for the streets, most of the streets in our neighborhood, we've had to move already because it was already happening. If your block only is on one day of the week, then that's been going on all along. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Omar, health, hospitals, and social services.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Very nice to see you guys tonight. So just a brief update. The COVID rate is continuing to go up, but hospitalizations are a little lower. Dr. Fauci has submitted a report to the White House that we are in danger of running out of funding for COVID testing and vaccinations if Congress doesn't do something immediately to get more funding for more booster shots and more testing. Republican Senator Mitt Romney has stated that he and a group of senators are working on a bipartisan bill. So we hopefully something does happen in Congress so we can get as much protection as we need. There was no meeting last month, April. Our next meeting will be tomorrow night, and we will be having a representative from the Department of Health to speak about the COVID rate and testing in CBA. So hopefully you will come tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Housing, we have a SAPO, and I believe Julie, you'll present that. We'll put that up.
Okay, thanks, Laura.
I need an eye
Okay.
test for this. It's very small.
Okay, the Housing Committee on April 25th met, and we had a presentation for a street activity permit application, which is a SAPO. Basically, the Marble Hill Resident Association has applied for a full street closure on West 228th Street and Marble Hill Avenue to West 230th Street and Marble Hill Avenue. The 60 years of community service anniversary event will take place on Saturday, June 18th of this year. And the event, including setup and breakdown, will take place from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. The president of the Marble Hill Resident Council made a presentation to the board, rather to the committee, advising that they will be hosting and sponsoring the event. It's a one-day block party. And the committee, which we did not have a full quorum, but the majority, which is I, recommends that the application be approved. I also sent along a nice article that the Riverdale Press did a few years ago on the main person that the community is, in a sense, honoring. It's vice versa. The community is honoring him, and he's honoring the community as well. I hope everyone got a chance to read the article, so it'll give you a little bit more of a background on why it's important, I believe, for the community board to go ahead and approve this application.
Thank you, Julie. We'll take the vote. Is there anyone opposed to the SAPO in Marble Hill? Is there anyone abstaining? Put this up here. Okay. Then it unanimously passes, and thank you so much, Julie.
You're welcome.
Now, moving on is the Special Committee on Hudson River Greenway. I know, Bob, you had a meeting recently.
Yes, so the committee met a week ago on May 3rd, and the minutes of that committee meeting circulated yesterday. And I won't go into any detail. All the information is in the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. Special Committee on Racial Equity, is there, Margaret, I believe, is absent. Anybody reporting on that? Okay. Special Committee on Veteran Services, I believe Sergio's not here. Okay. Last but not least, the Nominating Committee. Dan.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. The nominating committee has begun its work. All of the sitting chairs and officers have given their notice to the nominating committee whether or not they're seeking renomination. We did find that there were 3 committees where there were no chairs seeking renomination. We've put notices out to the board. We've already begun interviews for positions. We will continue to do so. Our report is expected back June 15th. And if we could have sooner, we will. And we go from there.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Moving on, any discussion on the executive committee meeting minutes? I know, Marty, you're submitting something. Any other discussion? Okay. Is there an approval for the board meeting minutes of April 12th, 2022?
Excuse me, Laura, Julia is here to do her report. She's
Oh, okay.
unable to unmute herself before.
Julie, go right ahead. Sorry.
Thank you so much. I'll keep this brief. You can refer to our last minutes. We have one more meeting coming up at least this Monday coming. We hope that you'll all join us. I usually keep my meetings under an hour, so feel free to just pop in and hang out with us. We'll be discussing next year and whether or not we need to have a June meeting. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, thank you. So regarding the board meeting minutes of April 12th, 2022, is there anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Is there anyone abstaining? So they are unanimously approved. Under miscellaneous business, are there any hands? Okay, Camelia?
Yes, Laura, thank you. Just to ask for a clarification, seeing that in the minutes you dutifully noted that I think 4 board members basically left between the previous meeting and now, which is now our current total number of members and what makes quorum?
It's 18 plus 1. We have 36 total at this point.
36 after counting those that, I mean, final number as of today, Bob?
Yeah, that's what we're going on.
Yes, thank you. 36, you said?
Yes, 30.
Yes, so quorum
lucky
makes
people.
19, right?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no further hands or business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, I just want to say this is our last meeting on Zoom. So we're all traumatized. I want to wish everyone good health and we'll see you. Reminder, it's June 29th. So mark your calendars, June 29th for the last full board meeting of the season. Okay, and we'll have the information on physically where we're meeting that will be going out. Okay, so everyone, good night. Have a great night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.